mention off the top about you hosting our post-game show, and I'm sure it was quite the conversation after 28-7 up after the first quarter, blown lead, big loss against Oklahoma, of course, 55-48, and the way that game ended, Kennedy Brooks going the distance, 33 yards with 3 seconds left as they were attempting to set up a field goal. Just a crazy game, and obviously on the Oklahoma side, the narrative was the quarterback change. But on the Texas side, how do you take it all in? It's obviously disappointing to come out with the L, but in the big picture, what do you think it tells us?
Big picture wise, I mean, obviously there was a lot of good things in that first half. The scheming was incredible. That was the first time in a long time I've seen an offense schemed like that. Like Tom Herman didn't do that. He wanted to punch you in the mouth and just run it at you basically. And Steve Sarkisian kind of in the first half used Bijan Robinson as like a magic trick. He's over here, look at him, and then they'd hand it off to like Jordan Whittington or a pop pass to Xavier Worthy. So I really like the play calling. And then the defense played pretty well in the first half. And I think for the simple fact is they came out with a plan for Spencer Rattler. And when he was in the game, obviously did well enough to where he didn't play well enough and he got benched. And obviously that probably cost Texas the game because then when Caleb Williams came in, he started scrambling, throwing bombs, really good passes. I mean, they were put in position where his guys were the only ones that could catch them. And Texas has struggled with jump balls for the past basically 3 head coaches, including Steve Sarkisian now. So we really need to get that figured out. But there's some positives in this game. Obviously, a lot of negatives. I think the second half tape, you kind of just I think that's where you learn from. You don't even watch the first half tape because that's your A game. You don't need to worry about that. That's what you need to play to in the future. Whereas the second half, there's a lot to learn from. So I just put that in my guys' mind, let them watch it over and over again. And that's what I kind of get the vibe of from this Texas program is their main goal, like OU's in the back of their mind, and it's going to be for the rest of the season. Whereas they're thinking if we win out, just concentrate on the game ahead, we'll get to play them again. And we heard Steve Sarkisian after the game allude to that, his first couple sentences was, "I want to see those guys again in December." Like he thinks he let one get away, and he did, and he probably did. So hopefully we take care of business this week and moving forward, and we can see him again in December.
It was a fascinating game, and not just an exciting game, that was obvious, but a fascinating game for a number of the reasons that you just cited there. And when you see a momentum switch, none of us can really define momentum. It's difficult to get a handle on, and it can switch. Is it really meaningful? Yes, I think it is to a certain extent. Maybe sometimes I think it's overstated, but when you get it rolling in the wrong direction against you, it's obviously hard to push back on it. And there's got to be a bit of a fear or confidence factor that, okay, we had this in hand, we were leading, and now we see them rolling downhill and it's kind of tough to stop. And man, I can't believe we're going to blow this lead. That has to permeate everyone's minds, I got to think.
Yeah, I would say it does, especially with just Texas in general, because we've seen this in the past. The game that comes to mind is when we played Cal under Charlie Strong. We go down there, score a touchdown, and then miss the extra point. That's been Texas the past decade, basically, is we get so close, but we never get over the hump. And we always shoot ourselves in the foot. Like I talked about a week ago on this channel with you, this was a big chance to gain momentum in recruiting and all this. And we talked about how Texas A&M had kind of fallen off. Well, guess what happens? If you pause the day at halftime, we're up by 18, and you're thinking, man, we got all the momentum, and A&M's probably going to get their ass kicked tonight. And then guess what happens? A&M beats Alabama. We blow this big lead, and the momentum is basically all but gone. If we lose this week, it is all gone. We have a little bit of momentum going into this week. We cannot lose it. We have to stay with it, because if we lose it this weekend, we may never get it back.
Oh, yeah. Charlie Strong and Cal, if I remember correctly, I tend to remember scores. I'm a geek that way. I think 45-44 in that one. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yes.